You know, I really haven't had any motivation to deer hunt this year. I got my bow out in August to make sure I was ready and shot a little bit and ended up never going out because I raised 3 pigs this year. So I'm overwhelmed with this huge influx of pork that I'm just gonna be honest, you know, pork is a lot more valuable to me than venison. So my gun season opens in just a couple days and I haven't even done any videos on what I'm gonna hunt with this year or any of that. And it's kind of for the same reason. I've basically been stalling, trying to dream up an excuse to not hunt this year. But I watched a video the other day that changed all of that. You've probably heard of the bearded butchers. Well, I used their videos, a bunch of their videos, in processing my pigs. You know, I did my own slaughtering and all that, so I got pretty much everything I needed from their videos. So just the other day, they put out a video how to make deer sticks, smoked venison sticks on a pellet grill. I was kind of hungry when I watched it, I guess. I don't know, man, but it sent me straight to their website and I ordered the kit to make them. So that's what we're going to do in today's video. So we're going to start out with a loading segment, move on to a hunting segment, and then finish off with a cooking segment, kind of like last week's video. I loaded 12 gauge, we went squirrel hunting, and then we made some squirrel taco meat. I really enjoyed making that video and the feedback seemed pretty good, so let's try it again. I'm about 5 years late on the catch and cook trend, but better late than never. I have changed my mind on what to shoot in this video 4 times, and I want to talk you through how that happened. This is my Tikka chambered in .308. I recently found a problem with the barrel and it was fouled up really bad. I spent weeks soaking the barrel and cleaning it and polishing it and trying to get the bore back into shape to shoot again. I finally got to that point. So after I've done my final cleaning, I'm in the process of putting the scope on the gun. I went to check my scope base screws and one of them broke off. I decided to ignore that. It's got 4 screws, we'll run it with 3. Fine. So I pulled the action out of the stock to clean down in there, and I found that at some point this gun had jumped the recoil lug, and there are even marks in the holes for the action screws where you can tell the threading had made contact with the plastic. So I think I'm done with this gun, man. I think the universe is telling me like it's done. This gun never shot good. I think I got a lemon. I need a new stock or chassis that's going to have a better freaking recoil lug fit. And it's time to replace the barrel. So I'm done with this gun. What I was planning to shoot in that gun was the 165 grain Spear Hot Core. This is still a current production bullet. Figured it'd make a good deer bullet. And I figured while I had the barrel so clean, I was going to try out this hex boron nitride that someone had sent me a few years ago. HBN is what most people call it. Well, I coated a whole sack of bullets. So these were all tumbled in the HBN. They were cleaned really carefully and then tumbled in the HBN. I can't believe I'm touching this with my fingers. That's why I've got them in the bag, was trying to want to try and wipe it off on its way back in. I think at this point, once you've got them to the point where they're ready, I think you're good to handle them. So that caused the first problem. So since this Tikka 308's not any good, I've got a Savage, could shoot my Savage lever action 308. But the problem is, all my bullets are coated in HBN and it would take me forever to clean that old Savage barrel down to a point where I was ready to, you know, introduce HBN. My next plan was to use my Henry Big Boy Silver. I even got the scope mounted on it and everything. We were ready to go. And I was going to shoot this 140 grain FTX. This is exactly the application I had bought these bullets for. I wanted to try them for deer hunting. But the farther along I got in preparing for that video, you know, I mounted the scope on the gun. I was kind of picking powders and stuff. I started thinking like, you know, this is a very marginal round, right? It's going to have a limited range. And I decided to drop it because I don't want to rush that. Like if I'm going to use a marginal round, I want to do some testing with it. I want to shoot it into ballistic gel. I want to get a little bit more confidence. And by this point, I didn't have time to do all of that and be ready for opening day of gun season. So we'll save that project for another day. So my next thought was I'll pull out that Remington 700 ADL that's chambered in .243 that I just made a few videos about a couple months back. And the problem with that is the bullet that shot really good for us, I've only got 5 of them. It's the 85 grain Game King. I've been on the lookout for them, just haven't been able to restock on these. You know, I was thinking like five bullets should be enough. Maybe 1 or 2 just to double check, make sure that scope's still on. And then a couple for the woods. And I thought I could load some of the Game Changers that we tried in that gun. They didn't shoot as good, but they still shot pretty good. Maybe load up a few of those as backup. But in the end, I decided to pass on that option as well. So let's clear all that other crap away and focus on what we're actually going to shoot today. And that's .223. We're going to shoot the 75 grain Spear Gold Dot, and we're going to use my Colt LE 6920. I've got a sling on it that's ready to go. I've got my red dot on there. It's sighted in and ready to go. Good old plastic hand guards that always feel nice and warm. I think it'll do a great job. I expect a max range of 100 yards, maybe just a little over 100 yards. I love the red dot that's on that gun. It's comfortable to shoot with my glasses on and all that stuff. Like, it should be perfect for the job. Now, 223 is not legal everywhere. Some states don't allow you to hunt with something that small. Here in Kentucky, we can hunt with any centerfire cartridge. Now, this bullet in particular is what gives me the most confidence going into this. I've already done a video, 75 grain Spear Gold Dot in 223. We shot them into ballistic gel, and after that, I loaded up some of these for some family members that killed deer with them, and they performed really good. So very confident in the bullet. Back in that video I did a few years back, one of the powders we tested was Alliant Power Pro 2000 MR. Gave the best velocity. If we look at Spear's load data for this bullet, they have separate 5.56 and 2.23 data. We are using the 5.56 data. The max charge is 27.1. And I'm going to try and shoot 27.0. That's just because I'm going to load with a powder measure, which sometimes it might throw a 10th high or a 10th low, but shouldn't be a big deal. Power Pro 2000 MR is a very slow powder for 223. You know, bullets even heavier than 75 are where it can really shine. So here with the 75, really big charge weight, 27 grains is a lot of powder, and I doubt you could fit enough in the case to get yourself into much trouble with this combination. So that's good. Now this is a ball powder. It's going to be temperature sensitive. Summer, winter, maybe your velocity changes. None of it's going to be dangerous, I don't think. For primers, we're going to shoot CCI 450s, and for brass, we're going to use this stuff. These are the rejects from another video I'm working on where I need a bunch of brass with identical head stamps. So these are the oddballs. Like these are Lake City 13s, these are Lake City 14s with stakes, and these are Lake City 14s with round crimps. In our application, we don't care about those minor differences between our Lake City brass. It's all the same. Now, as part of my preparations for that video, this stuff's already been fully prepped. It's been cleaned and polished, it's been annealed, it's been resized, it's been trimmed, and the case mouth is deburred and chamfered. So we just need to install primers, add our powder, and seat our bullets. Not much to this one. I'm trying to decide how many to load. I do have a couple full boxes of bullets. So I've got 200, and I wouldn't mind having a bunch of this ammo ready and loaded for the Colt, because it is the one I keep around that's ready to go. And there was one more bag I missed. So I've got enough. I could do 100. Let's do 100. I think I've got enough powder for 100. Yeah, that sounds like a plan. I think the quickest way to count these will be with primers. So there's our CCI 450 primers. They come in trays of 100. When I was prepping this brass for that other video, I checked every single one of these primer pockets. So I shouldn't find any bad ones. But I had to discard so much brass for bad primer pockets. I think a couple of the loads I've been shooting recently in 223, especially the loads with the 77 grain Sierra Match King that I shoot so much, and the Mark 262 videos I made where we really pushed the pressures too far, to be honest with you. Certainly too far for good brass life, and I think a lot of my loads kind of come from that video series or derive from that video series, and I just need to slow everything down, man. Like we don't have to load every round to absolute max velocity, right? I think it was that AR comp load. A little too hot, leaving the primer pockets loose. Hopefully I've got enough powder for this. I think I do. We'll see. It might be close. So this goes up on here, and we adjust it over here on this side. I'm going to try about right there. Need to move our bottle because we need to lift the handle. That's going to fill up the little powder reservoir, and then whenever we drop it, it's going to come out the bottom. And actually, a ladybug's going to come to say hello. They're everywhere, man. And the wasps have joined them. So I got stink bugs, ladybugs, and wasps right now. Forgot to twist my powder canister up here to turn it on. So let's try that again. That should have filled it, and then that should dump it all over the place. Not too bad. That first one already measured 28 grains. I'm going to use a case Yeah, maybe this will be easier. So I tared my scale with a case on it. So that read 26.8. That's 3 in a row, all of them 26.8. This powder flows through a powder measure. So perfect. Go up just a couple. Okay, just made a minor adjustment. 27.0. That one's 20. $27.1. I made a small adjustment back down. I bet this is going to be perfect. $26.9. Next one's 27.0. Next one, 27.1. And 27.0. Yep, that's good for me. Looks good. Now, one thing I haven't done is check my scale. Here's a 20 grain check weight, and it's 20. Okay, I'm feeling good about it. So this powder fills up a lot of the case, so you're able to just look down into all your cases, make sure you didn't miss one, make sure there's not one that's much higher or lower than the others. You won't be able to see small mistakes, but should be able to see a big catastrophic mistake. Okay, so I've gone ahead and installed my Lee bullet seating die into my reloading press. Now we've just got to adjust it to make the length of our rounds correct. So right now we're way too long. 2.260 is our target. Yeah, so we're at 2.476. So 200 thousandths too long right now. Went a little bit too far on that first one. It's at 2.245. Still should be fine. I don't think 15 thousandths too short is enough to make it dangerous to shoot. Okay, I think I've got our bullet seating die set just where we want it, coming out right at 2.260. I seated like 5 of them to test. This was the longest one, so it's 1.5 thousandths too long. I can live with that. So that's what they're supposed to look like. Now the first round I was using for adjusting, I got too short. So it's 2.245, so it's about 15 thousandths too short. Now with this load, I'm not worried about this being dangerous. You know, if we were really close on pressure, it might be a problem, but I think we've got room. I'm just going to shoot this one. It's easier to shoot it than it is to unload it and make it longer. So I've marked it with a marker. I'll put it, you know, at the first slot in the ammo box. So we make sure we use this one as a practice round. All right, so I'm going to get comfortable and bust out 100 of these. Now, since I've got the gun right here, I'm going to check and make sure that these fit. I did check the brass earlier to make sure that it was going to fit. So no problem there. So now that we got all of our hunting ammo, I think the next thing I want to do is head to the kitchen and mess around with the sausage stuffer that I just bought. All right, last one here. Everything's gone very smoothly with bullet seating. Nothing weird at all. There we are, ready to go. Let's get to the kitchen. Here's a spread of some of the crap I bought from these bearded butcher folks. With the venison sticks, I'm planning to do a whole bunch of different flavors and all sorts of nonsense. So like everything from there over is about the sticks, and we'll talk more about them later. I got 3 packs of their basic bratwurst seasoning. So that's 75 pounds worth of bratwursts I've got to make. So the brats came with a 32 millimeter casing. I ended up getting 3 of their 2.5 pound packages of high temp cheese. Yeah, I want cheese in everything, but what I was afraid of is that this would be like that dry and crumbly and crappy gross cheese, but it's not. It's really soft and good, so I'm happy with it. So some of the brats are just going to be cheddar brats. And I also bought one of their packages of jalapenos in powder, and I've already used half of this. I didn't want to buy any more of this until I had a chance to test it and see, you know, what sort of heat it's bringing. So this is a batch I mixed up a couple days ago. 25 pounds of fresh ground pork from the first pig I butchered. All of it got the bratwurst seasoning, and all of it got cheese. And then half of this got the jalapenos. So this is my meat grinder that I've had for several years that I like. And it came with you know, sausage stuffer attachments and crap. So I figured, how bad could it be? I'll just use this thing to stuff my bratwurst. And I bought this little dingus. This is a 10 millimeter. You need one that's really small because the casings for the sticks are 17 millimeter. So I found one on Amazon that looked like it was going to fit. Kind of, you pop this out and you put this one in, and it's not pretty, but I think it'll work. So that's where I was a couple days ago whenever I mixed up all of this brat meat. So you take out the blade and you install this plate, and then you put the little sausage stuffer in front of it, and it didn't work for crap. It was really hard to get the auger to feed the ground up stuff. It was smashing all of the cheese, and the filling was a mess. I maybe could have made it work if I got some help. Like if you had somebody, you know, filling up and feeding it while you were stuffing, you might be able to get it going and keep it going. And like this thing only has 2 speeds, and both of them, whenever it gets going, is crazy fast. So I didn't buy the one. Some of them have a foot pedal where you can start and stop it really easily. I don't have that one. So this was a nightmare. So I stopped everything I was doing and bought this gigantic abomination. This is a 7-pound sausage stuffer. So this one did not come with the small horn, but it's perfect. It fits perfect. I can't tell you how much I did not want to buy this. Now I've got a frickin' sausage stuffer that I need to find a place to put. So that kind of sucks. We need to figure out which one of these is going to work best. I think you want the largest one that'll work for you so you can fill as fast as possible. Man, that almost fits. Yeah, that is such a good fit that I'm going to put it on by hand. I probably could have forced it on there as a tube. You know, they come in these big long tubes. I might have been able to force it, but I just went ahead and unraveled it and slid it down on there. Because that's perfect, man. That's gonna fill really easily, I think. Yeah, there we go. So I just need to fill this thing up, and I guess it's really important you don't get air bubbles. And I might have to add some water to my meat because it's tightened up a lot in the fridge over the last couple days. Let's dump one out and check. Yeah, this might be bad. A couple days in the fridge. It's probably not a good idea. It looks like all of the cheese has taken on some more moisture. You know what? I'm not going to worry about adding water. I'm going to try to load some into the stuffer, and we'll just see what happens, because I really don't want to agitate this stuff more than I have to. I think this is going to come down to whether or not this stuffer has got enough power to push this stuff at this thickness. Yep, I think it's going to work. There's that first little segment of casing. That went pretty good. So the texture is a disaster. This is kind of like what I was seeing, coming out of the stuffer on my grinder. That's okay. I figured it might be the case. Whenever I knew I was going to have to leave that stuff in the fridge for a couple days, I was afraid that the cheese would break down. The taste is still totally awesome. That's all that matters. All right, I need to get more casing. That first one, I was definitely trying to take it easy on the gears. Like, it feels like you're putting a lot of force into this thing. Which actually, I should straighten this out. I'm going to cut them here in a few minutes. Don't want them to get wrinkly from being curled up. Just had my first significant air bubble. Wasn't too bad. Yeah, like right here. I think I'm supposed to get a toothpick or something and pop that. It's almost time to refill the stuffer. So I'll grab a toothpick then. I think that's the end of the travel. So I'm making the switch over to jalapeno, and I think it happened right about there. And this is going pretty easy, right as planned. You know, I bought enough kits to do 75 pounds of this stuff, and some of them I would like to go ahead and smoke and, you know, fully cook and then freeze them so they're easier to use. And I'm thinking this might be the perfect candidate for that, because that pre-cooking is kind of going to mess up the texture anyway. So why not use this stuff? I've had the remnants of a hurricane blowing through all day today. It has rained non-stop. We needed it bad, so I'm happy to see it. But I was supposed to get out there at some point today and check the zero on our rifle, and I just didn't. So that's no big deal. It's not supposed to quit raining. Like it just got dark, which means we're going to miss opening morning, which doesn't matter a bit to me. Opening afternoon sounds just as good because this rain isn't going to stop until later in the night. So in the morning, the deer are going to be moving like ninjas. Tell you what, once I gained my confidence and felt like I could really put some muscle into that stuffer, that thing worked great. Like I said earlier, this stuff was very tight. It was very, you know, thick. Whenever we get to the venison sticks and we're trying to squeeze it through that itty bitty little 10mm tube, things are going to get tougher, and I'm feeling pretty confident. So I think I'm going to throw this entire batch on the smoker. Like I said, it's dark, but I mean, it's just barely dark. I think it's like 5:15, 5:30, stupid daylight saving time. So I'll probably like throw them on for a couple hours and just try and keep the temperature as low as I can to maybe get a couple hours of smoke into them. I'm using a Pit Boss pellet grill that's a few years old, and the fan had gone out on it this spring whenever I tried to fire it up the first time. So I ordered a new fan for it and went ahead and ordered a new igniter while I had it torn apart. Figured I might as well swap some stuff out. So it's been getting quite a bit of use already and seems to be doing good. Trying to cut these in about a 1/4 pound size. I'd like to package them in packages of 4, and that'll basically be 2 meals or enough for 2 people. I ended up with a fair amount of casing left, which is good. I'm not complaining. So they definitely sent plenty. I mean, that's enough for another, yeah, I'd say that's probably 25% left over. So I might try and mix up a breakfast sausage or something and put it in that. That was the thing I didn't buy this time. I figured I was ordering enough. I figured I'd try this out and then go back, because they've got a maple, breakfast sausage seasoning that sounds good, and some, appropriate size casings for breakfast stuff. Okay, this is all the standard. Find something to put these on. So that made 56. I'm not sure how accurate I was whenever I split the batch in half for the jalapenos. I didn't care all that much, but I was expecting to get, 100 1/4 pound brats out of this. I need some clips on the 4 corners of my table for my plastic tablecloth. Like, it's working out good. I figured the sausages would slide good on I think they're vinyl or whatever. So this thing cleaned out pretty easily. Obviously this elbow is going to be full of meat when you're done, and it was super easy to poke it out of there. And then the stuffing horn, I just used a big shish kebab thingy. So that's what I ended up with as like extra that I'll cook as patties. Like I said, some came from there, but others, like ends that I cut off that were a little piddly or something. Kind of like that. Probably should have chopped that off. I chopped off a lot of them. I think I will wait until tomorrow to put these on the smoker. A little bit of color difference between the jalapeno, I guess the jalapeno powder. Worked on them a little bit, but yeah, I'll probably put these on the smoker tomorrow. I wonder if they'll be okay stacked like that, or if they'll stick together and tear all the casing. If I've got enough room in the fridge, I might grab a couple more sheets and lay them all out in singles. Yeah, whatever. This isn't a bratwurst video anyway, is it? Although it should be, man. Yeah, these are going to be awesome. All we did was lose our cheese definition, which I'm okay with. Like, it was a mistake. Now that I've got the stuffing figured out, it won't happen again, right? So they're going to taste awesome. Okay, so tomorrow, put these on the grill and sight in the gun in the morning. And maybe while we're doing that, we'll see a deer on the hill. Then we'll have to figure out some way to make it seem sporting, to shoot it. Because that's really what we're dealing with. I've got deer in the yard. Like, you know, I don't have a tremendous amount of land, so we're going to be a couple hundred yards from the house at most anyway. So we'll see how it goes. It dawned on me last night while I was cleaning up that I'm not making any more of the jalapeno bratwurst. So I went ahead and packaged up most of these raw and got them in the freezer last night. I put all of the regular ones out on the grill this morning. Been giving them some cold smoke for like an hour and a half. And I think I'm about to crank the grill up and finish them off. Man, most of these came out perfect. Had one that rolled off the back. Might give that one to the chickens. That one there's not too bad. These were at the back of my grill, and the heat dispersion in that thing's not very good. Just grab you a standard hot dog bun. Throw a nice juicy bratwurst in there, and maybe drench it in some mustard. Like, there you go. Perfect. I'll cut through it so you don't have to look at my chew marks. Yeah, and actually cutting it doesn't make it look right either. Let me try tearing it. There you go. Now, if I hadn't screwed things up, we'd have some cheese definition in here, but the cheese just melted into everything. You get little bits of cheese here and there, but not what you should see. The next batch where I add the cheese right before I'm going to stuff, and also our venison sticks, we should get nice cheese definition. We'll see. But before then, we need to kill a deer, and we need to check that gun. It's rained all morning long. It was supposed to clear up this morning. Well, I mean, it's been steadily on and off. I'm glad I'm not out in it trying to use a camera. So once it tapers off, we'll get out there and check the gun and then go for a bit of an evening hunt today. We're going to repurpose the shotgun targets from last week. I grabbed a Sharpie and made a perfect circle around there so I could see it a little bit better. I've already got one hung up at about 40 yards. So we'll shoot that one first and then we'll switch to 100 if things look good. Now, one thing you want to be sure about are the magazine laws in your state if you're going to hunt with an AR. Kentucky, I'm pretty sure it's a 10-round magazine. Now that I bring this up, I'm going to go back and double check it. But if I'm wrong, I'll put it on the screen here. But, you know, laws are subject to change, so always check. So you'll need to pick up a micro capacity magazine. Okay, the magazine's full. Let's just shoot a couple and then we'll run down and see where we're at. Okay, safety on. Let's check and make sure we're hitting paper. I'm going to have a look at the brass, make sure it doesn't look weird in any way. And we'll try to calm down the rooster. The rooster gets very angry when you make noise on his turf. I want to grab his head and shake it. Every time I'm out here, I didn't know this was going to be a thing. He's probably going to end up in the freezer. He's messing up my audio. The brass looks good. Okay, 2 shots, just a tiny bit high and about 1.5 inches to the right. That's significant because this is only 40 yards. Before I move the sight, I want to go back and just shoot again. Like redo the setup. I might actually shoot offhand. Just want to make sure that's legit before we go cranking on the sights. Okay, we're definitely shooting right. So if let's call it 1.5 inches, let's call it 50. So that's 3 MOA. Let's see if we can make a 3 MOA adjustment. I'm going to need a coin. I think it's been a while since I've made any adjustments to this sight and the clicks don't feel right. I'm moving it all over the place, hoping to free it up. Let's see where that puts us. I literally have no idea. We might be 6 inches left now. Okay, so now I made an adjustment 6 clicks to the right. Let's see where that is. Okay, that looks perfect. So let's go ahead and finish the magazine and hopefully stack them right on top of that one. Okay, that looks good. So I'm going to run this target to 100 and we'll try there. I'm going to go ahead and put that adjustment cap back on. I was kind of bumping this thing around a little bit, making sure that, yeah, if it's going to move, I want it to move now. All right, magazine of 10. Hopefully I can see that far. Okay, I want to see where those 3 went. Okay, 1 dead center and then 2 a little bit high. I can deal with that. Let's shoot some more. I am totally good with this. Should be able to aim essentially dead on at any range I want to shoot. That's perfect. So, holy crap, it got cold today and it's wet. It rained until noon. Do we really want to get cold and wet? We'll at least go out for a little while before dark, but I think I'm going to drag my feet for a couple hours. So there's an hour and a half of daylight left. And I figure at the very least we can get out and find a good spot to sit in the morning. I think it might be hurt. There you are. This is 5. This is kind of freaking me out a little bit. I've never had one let me get so close to it. It's got to be injured or something. This is only 20 yards away. I'm just going to back out of here and let nature take its course. Look at the video. If I can tell that it's injured, I might try and call somebody. It's the first shot I've heard today. Holy crap, here he comes. Yeah, it is. I think one of its legs is injured. Some days the woods just feel empty. Haven't seen any chipmunks or squirrels. Even the birds aren't out. A week ago it felt like there was a squirrel in every tree. Now all we've got are club-footed hawks. Speaking of that guy, I took the memory card out of my camera to get a better look at him and then forgot to put it back. So I got out here this morning and turned on the camera and needed to make a quick trip back to the house. The wind was all wrong for where I was planning to go, so I'm on the other side of the hill. I've hunted here quite a bit. You know, a lot of times deer will come down through this way. So I dressed warm enough. I've been comfortable all morning. It's just nothing going on out here. Some days are like that, man. It can be exhausting, especially when the leaves are wet. Like, I expect everything to be moving almost silently. So your eyes are constantly moving, trying to pick up little movements. They are really tough to spot when you can't hear them. Before I give up and go back to the house, I want to walk around the hill and look at something I spotted last week when I was squirrel hunting. It looked like something had been digging, like making a den maybe. So let's go see if we can see a bear or maybe coyotes or something. I'm getting bored of not seeing anything. Yeah, there it is. It's like a big pile of dirt in the middle of the woods. So I guess it was nothing. The hill kind of slipped a little bit. Oh, I guess it's the root system from this old tree. This is approximately the spot I wanted to hunt from this morning. I might sit down and chill for an hour before I give up. I really like this spot, even with the bad wind. Man, the woods are creepy when the birds aren't making any noise. I was just walking out and spooked a deer. He ran towards my house. So it was probably headed toward the spot I was in this morning, which is right up the hill here to the left. I broke the number one rule and forgot where he was standing. I don't see any hair or blood. I was standing pretty close to my 100-yard target, so my little shooting shack is right down the hill. I went down there for a couple minutes to drop some gear and let the rooster calm down a little bit. And I wasn't able to see a deer laying on the hill, so a little bit worried right now. I'd like to know I'm on the right path. You know, he may be up the hill farther than I remembered. I think I see it laying over there. It definitely got leaves kicked up here, but definitely there's some blood. Yeah, a few drops in here. And there it is. This is a little doe. Itty bitty little thing. Looks like I entered a little farther forward. Or no, this would be exit, wouldn't it? Yeah, the entrance is a little bit more reasonable. It's in there somewhere. So it definitely hit bone. And the gold dot made it through. Pretty good stuff. I think I'm going to drag her down the hill to the corner of the yard where I've got somewhere more comfortable to field dress her. I think I've seen this little doe around, and I think she's the one who learned how to jump my fence and started eating my peas a couple weeks ago. So hopefully she didn't have time to teach all the others that trick. So step one on how to field dress a deer is to get a bucket of warm water and some clean hand towels. Yeah, doing this in your yard isn't normal, but I'm going to take advantage. Keep my hands clean. A bunch of other stuff about the situation's perfect as well. The shot was right where we wanted, so all of the trauma is above the diaphragm. We haven't done any damage to the stomach or the intestines or anything like that. I also just checked the thermometer on the front porch, and it is 38 degrees. If it took me 12 hours to find this deer, it would still be fresh as a daisy. So if it's really hot or you've gut shot an animal, this can feel pretty urgent sometimes. Now the high temperatures over the next couple days are just going to be in the high 30s. So this is a rare opportunity for me to just let a deer hang for a while. So I'm just going to do a standard gut job on this guy, and then we'll put it hanging in the garage for a couple days. Absolute crazy amount of bone fragments in there. Can't wait to skin this and see what that bullet hit. This might be the smallest deer I've ever shot. So entry was here on the left, somewhere in this bloodshot. Looks like it mostly missed the ribs on the way in. It did crack one. The left shoulder bone and stuff seems to be mostly intact as well. On the way out, we definitely cracked a rib in half, and the right shoulder got broken on the way to this big exit wound at the front of the shoulder. So I already pulled the back strap out of the left side. It's just this big muscle that goes down right along the spine. Can't miss it. Same with the tenderloin inside of the body cavity. Not much there. Man, this deer is tiny. There just isn't much hair. So I'm going to grab those two muscles on this other side, and then everything else is going to go to grind. And I'm hoping we're going to have enough for our recipe. These hindquarters are where most of it's going to need to come from, because the ribs and stuff are pretty sparse. And a lot of our front shoulder meat. I mean, we're going to get quite a bit here, but the other side, yeah, there's a fair amount that looks fine on the other side. As long as it's not bloodshot, I'm completely good with it. I'm starting to think this video is cursed because a couple mornings ago, I woke up, it was snowing. Pigs were running around the snow having fun. So I sat down here to finish deboning our poor little deer and getting that meat ready to grind. And the power goes out. So I fired up the stove and put a couple big pots of water just to get a little bit of humidity in the air while I was, keeping the place warm. So when I finished deboning the deer, I had these big pots of boiling water. I'm like, I'll just chuck them in there and cook them for the chickens or see if the pigs want to chew at a bone or something. Somewhere along the way, the power came back on. But the bones are done, and I walk outside to take them to the animals, and one of my pigs is loose. Never happened before. And not only was he loose, but he was loose and enjoying it. I don't think he had gone far. He was there by the fence hanging out with his friend. And when I walked out, he immediately came up to me, wanted food, all that stuff. I just happened to have a whole bunch of stuff he really wanted. So I thought, hey, this is great. No problem. Let's just get him back over the fence. And I tried, and it was not working. I could get him interested in food for a minute, but then, so he was like doing loops of the house, and then he was doing a loop of the garage, and I'm like, you know what? I was just waiting to finish this video. As soon as I finished this video, those guys were getting slaughtered. So the weather was perfect for it, nice and cold. I'm freaked out that he's going to take off running. I can't get him back in the fence, and I'm kind of freaked out. So yep, just went ahead and dispatched the one that was out. So now the problem is, so the final remaining pig is not going to do well by himself. I was hoping he'd be okay and be chill enough, and maybe I could at least wait overnight, because all of this is happening at like 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I don't have time in the day to deal with this. So it's just kind of a nightmare scenario, but I couldn't get the final pig to calm down. So I went ahead and took care of him as well. That was a really late night, and then more the following day. But man, I didn't realize how much that was weighing on me until now that it's over. I don't think I'm ever going to do that myself again. I did not have the facilities to handle the slaughtering the way I wanted to. And a lot of it came down to like containing the animals, separating the animals, dealing with them like right at that very end. I did not plan for good enough. And then you throw in, trying to take care of one of them outside of their normal area. It was kind of a nightmare. But it's over, and that's good. And I've got more pork than I'm going to be able to deal with. So what I've got to fight right now is the desire to get this video over with. I don't know. I haven't edited it up to this point, but I think I've got a good video in here somewhere. So we're at the most important part. So let's give it the attention it deserves. Like I mentioned, the weather's perfect. Those pigs can hang for days. They should hang for days. Oh, and the last thing is one of my chickens died today. I've had several of them that have been molting. They lose a bunch of their feathers and then grow them back. And it was the one that was molting the most, had lost the most feathers, that died. Along with this cold snap came some wind, and I think last night it got cold enough and windy enough that the draft in the coop got to her. And I should have been giving them some supplemental heat. Got a light hung up for them today, because there's a couple others that are molting as well, so feeling pretty bad about that one. I mean, she may have had some other health issue that I didn't realize. I mean, they look like hell when they're molting. They look like they're dying. And first time through it, maybe I didn't pick up the signs that she was struggling. So on that happy note, let's move on with our cursed video. I didn't get enough deer meat for the recipe. I needed 20 pounds of lean deer meat, and all I got was 13.4. Every scrap of meat on that deer that I wanted to grind, I'm not going to grind the freaking back straps. So all of the meat I'm willing to grind makes up 13.4 pounds. Deer was so tiny. But hey, there hasn't been any deer in my garden last couple nights. So this is our 10 pounds of coarsely ground pork. Pretty high fat content. Then here's our deer meat, 13.4 pounds. And this is 1.6 pounds of pork fat. All of my leaf fat became lard, so this is ham trimmings, back fat trimmings. Made lard out of a bunch of this stuff as well, and it's great. Now, if I had gotten enough deer meat, we'd be adding a whole lot more fat than this. Probably 20 pounds of deer and 5 pounds of fat. But this 10 pounds of ground pork that we're adding has got so much fat in it that I'm worried to add much more than that. So we'll see what this mix looks like. So for the first grind, I'm just going to run these two through, and then we'll incorporate the pork, and then we'll probably run it all back through the grinder one more time. But before we do that, let's talk spices real quick. So for this bearded butcher kit, I think I ordered before they changed their website. I think things have changed a little bit. What I got on their site now is called the old-fashioned flavor. It's that salt and pepper seasoning. You know, it's just salt and pepper. And then you can add smoke flavoring. This is hickory smoke flavor powder for 25. You know, all of this is it's a 25-pound kit. So you get your smoke flavor and you get the sodium nitrite pink cure salt. And then on top of that base recipe, you know, with the salt and pepper, you can add cheese, which I added, you know, high temp cheddar. Then you can add the dried jalapenos and powder. Oh, the smoke was optional. Smoke, jalapeno, and cheese are all add-ons. Whatever. But I ordered a 6-pack of their seasoning, and we're actually going to use these to flavor some sticks. So a couple of them that I'm not going to use. This first one here is zesty. This has got a ton of citrus flavor, so this is more like fish and chicken. If you ask me, I bought it for fish and chicken. So lime flavored deer sticks just doesn't sound all that good. Another one is this black. It's got like coffee in it, and I'm having trouble imagining a venison stick with notes of coffee that wouldn't be gross. If you like coffee, maybe, but I'm gonna skip the black. So that leaves these 4. These 3 here are ones that they offer in kits for these sticks. Original, Chipotle, and Cajun. We're gonna make 5 pounds of each of those. Another one I wanna try is this Brock Lesnar blend. It is good. Like so far, just shaking some of this on some things like this stands out as a good one. So if we make 5 pounds of sticks with each of those, and I want to do 5 of the old-fashioned. Yeah, I want to use the salt and pepper base seasoning, and then do jalapenos, the jalapeno powder with that. And all of them are getting cheese. Is that confusing enough? So all of that stuff needs to wait until later, but everything is going to get the curing salt and the smoke powder. Another thing I ordered from them were these tote liners. They use these nice meat totes, but I was like, hey, if I'm going to put a liner in it, I'll just use something cheaper, like this 72 quart thingy. And the liners actually fit really nice, but they've got some unfortunate plastic folds. But when I was mixing up bratwurst, I noticed that the folds in here are a bit of a pain in the butt. Your seasoning and stuff gets under there, and it's a little bit of a pain. So if I had it to do over with, I would just go ahead and buy a food safe tote. It's probably what I'll do. So I think I mentioned for this first grind, it's just going to be the deer and the fat. Should probably wash my hands one last time. So here's the whole pack of hickory smoke powder. It certainly smells smoky. All right, next is the whole pack of our pink curing salt. Oh, I wanted to check this. I want to look at the texture. Yeah, I just wanted to compare it to the other stuff I've got to see if it looks the same. I think it does. I'm going to grab it real quick and check. Does that look about the same? I think it is. This is a bag of this stuff. Curing salt number 1. I think there's a number 2 as well. I don't know. All right, let me get set up for the first grind. With this grinder, I've got a big coarse plate and then this small plate. I don't really have a good medium plate. So for this first one here, I definitely want to use the big one, but I'm not really sure what's going to be best for that second grind. With everything needing to squeeze through that tiny little 10 millimeter, yeah, with everything going through this little guy, I might end up using the small one on the next one. Okay, here we go. I need gloves. I don't want to handle that curing salt. All right. Okay, there's the small plate. We'll use that on the next one. But this needs to go back into the tub and mixed up again. 10 pounds of pork added. This is all 25 pounds. I'm pretty happy with this mix as far as lean to fat. Like I was afraid we were going to have way too much fat, and I don't think we do. All right, let's send it through the small plate. Man, that took a long time. Okay, so I've separated the meat into 5 bowls of 5 pounds. I think what I'm going to do tonight is add the seasoning, get them all mixed up really well, and then first thing in the morning I'm going to start, well, we'll add the cheese and then stuff. It just got too late on me today, and I'm worried about keeping my smoker up to temp with it so cold out there. So yeah, we'll just wait till in the morning. Start really early. I don't think the cure is going to mind, or the smoke flavor, and that'll give these seasonings plenty of time to dissolve and distribute, and then when we throw the cheese in, it'll be ready to go. So I think I'm going to go into this big bowl and start with the salt and pepper. And I think I'm going to go ahead and do the jalapenos now so they have time to get hydrated and stuff. You know what? I think that fine plate gave us a really nice texture. Hopefully it'll stuff nicely. Man, those jalapenos smell good. Yeah, that smells amazing. I know in their video they had a couple smokers running to get the whole batch in there, I think. So I might have to do it slowly in batches. All right, on to chipotle. Try and cover these with some plastic wrap. Thought about vacuum sealing it, but I think it'll be fine. Just want to be cautious after my bratwurst fiasco. I forgot to share my math. So the 25-pound bags of this seasoning are 13 ounces. They say in the video, you know, that it's the exact same stuff that comes in the shakers all the way up. Like you can buy buckets of the stuff. So what that worked out to was I need 2.6 ounces for each of these 5-pound batches. So that's why I had all the bowls out. I weighed out my 2.6 ounces of seasoning. Now these are 6-ounce shaker bottles, so I've still got more than half of them left to use, you know, just as normal seasoning. If you wanted to use the whole bottle, you'd get 11.5 pounds of meat product. So if any of the bearded butcher people watch this, this is what you need. You need one more DIY kit that comes with like this size, and you just share the math and say, here's what you use maybe. I don't know. I guess I could have bought the, you know, the normal sampler 6-pack of those, plus, you know, all of these things individually. I'm not sure what the price difference is, but a DIY kit with like 3 shaker bottles, you choose whatever you want, but it has to be 3 different ones. You know, keep that inventory rotating, right? Just an idea. All right, this crap's going in the fridge. I'll see y'all in the morning. Those guys have survived 2 weekends of gun season at this point. Last night when I was cleaning up the grinder, was kind of thinking through the operation and trying to think why this thing sucks so bad during the second grind. Like the first grind, this thing eats whatever you give it and feeds really fast, but the second, I think it's because this auger is just so loose in there. There's so much room around the auger. So that fine material just passes right by the outside, and it'd be nice if you got like a small auger for working with big material and then a more tightly fitting one that could be used for second and third grinds and stuff, and also sausage stuffing. I'm feeling better and better about my sausage stuffer purchase. So these are the casings. Mahogany Smokies casing, 17 millimeter. I want to see if these actually would have fit on the small feeding horn that came with my grinder, because I could use these, I think. A little bit of modification, I could make this work. So this is going to slide right on here, but it's not long enough for the whole thing. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it here where it already broke. Because with the bratwurst casing, I had to pull them out and then feed it onto the horn manually. Nope, that was never going to work. Just wanted to check. So that's ready. This, put that back in there. I picked up some 19mm casings the other day at Rural King. My local Rural King has a display of LEM crap, and they had 17s, 19s, and several other casing sizes. They had a bunch of spices and stuff there as well, but there was nothing I was interested in. But it's good to know I can get casings. These 19s I bought, I'm going to try to make some breakfast sausage links out of it. Probably just do a basic salt and pepper seasoning and then stuff it into this and see how that tastes. I'm going to start with the original seasoning. Keeping all these seasonings apart and not getting confused is one of the bigger challenges here. Figured this stuff would kind of set up like concrete, and it did. So need to add some water and get it workable again. Forgot to hit record there for a minute, which is always nice. I've added 8 ounces of water, and I'm really liking the way this is feeling. If anything, I maybe used a little bit too much. I think we're ready for cheese. I already split the 2.5 pound bag of cheese into 5 half-pound bags. Okay, that's pretty well incorporated. So no air bubbles is the key here, I guess. So I'm going to stuff that lower part right down to the horn. Product's nice and cold. That water, you know, it's straight out of the fridge. So that water, I went ahead and used room temperature water or tap temperature cold water because I wanted to warm it up a little bit, but it still seems nice and cold. And it looks like this 5 pounds is going to be perfect to fill up the stuffer. That is a thing of beauty. Okay, I think we're pushing. Just going to wait for, well, actually what I should do is pull some of this out. Should slide better with a glove, I think. All right, let's see if we can get anything moving. There it goes. Still a little bit leery about how much pressure I can apply. Don't want to blow out my stuffing gears. I should probably clamp the stuffer to the table. Yeah, for the next batch, this is definitely going to be clamped down. Need to secure my tablecloth better, all that stuff. Almost done with this one. It's going really well. So here's the first batch ready to go. Went ahead and pre-measured them out to 23 inches wide, which will fit nice and comfortable through the door of the smoker and then onto the grate. I might be able to fit 2 batches on the smoker at a time, but absolutely no more than that. And I'm thinking I might just put that first batch on there and see what it looks like before we even go stuffing anything else. Really happy with these. They filled out nicely. Yeah, see, that's a comfortably full grill. I'm at about 2 hours. And things are looking okay, but got that same hot spot in that back left corner because these back here, yeah, that one's actually split open. I'll try and flip everything and then bring it as far forward as I can. A couple of them broke. There we go. I've had the heat on 200. That's the lowest this smoker will go. There's a smoke setting where you control the auger manually, but it was driving me crazy. So just put it on 200, just put a couple probes in, give those a little bit of time to stabilize and see where we're at. Looks like we're almost done. Yeah, the one probe I put in, this one right here, this was a piece that was right at the back and it's already at 170. And this one back here is in the 150s, 154 maybe, something like that. Okay, almost done. I think in their video they went to 155, but I think they went 4 hours or something like that. So I don't know. Let them go a little bit longer. Yeah, these things are done. They're overdone. Let the temperature get into the 170s. I think that's why our casing split and all that crap. Still got quite a few that look perfect. Yeah, a lot of these look absolutely perfect. I want to eat that. Oh my God. Oh my gosh, that's so good. So straight off the grill, they taste fantastic. Like really, really good. Now in their video, they spray them down with water, spritz them with water. And I think one of their older videos, they actually dunk them into ice water. But the air temperature out here is in the 30s. And I brought out some racks to get some airflow. I think I'm just gonna let them sit here for a few minutes while we stuff the others. So I did go ahead and completely clean out the stuffer because, you know, wasn't sure how long it was going to be. And the kind of leftovers that you can recover from right here, it's quite a bit of meat. So I think I'm going to save them all and then I'll just mix them all together and have a bit of an all seasonings mix there at the end. So I've been having some problems with the smoking portion of this. And I feel like everything I've said up to this point is irrelevant and I need to kind of start over. So I went ahead and just put the grill on 200 and decided to do the next batch at 200. Now I went out after an hour and the temperature probes were already spiked way high. And at this point, like the first batch, I'm feeling like I overcooked it. You know, like this next batch, I don't want to overdo it. So I took that batch off after just a little over an hour, got it onto a cooling rack, and then started double checking it. And like none of the temperatures were where they needed to be. I think I was in the upper 140s or something and I was wanting to get to like 155 to 160. But to make a long story short, that batch, the second batch and then the one right after it, the third batch, I'm just not feeling 100% confident that I got them all the way up to temperature. But here in the later batches, for one thing, the outdoor temperatures are more reasonable, so I think my grill is staying more consistent. And at this point, I'm no longer using the temperature probes in my grill. Those thermocouples are huge. And I think, you know, these small little casings, the thermocouple displaces so much material that you just don't get a reading that's worth anything. So the smoker's still running. I'm trying to get batches through, but yeah, that second and third, I'm going to put them back on, bring them back up to temperature just to be sure. But this Chipotle batch that I need to cut, I'm feeling really good about it. And I've already cut up the original batch because I needed to decide what I want to do as far as packaging. And here's what I landed on. So all of the short pieces and the ends are just going in a jar. I'm going to put this in the fridge. This will be the first thing I eat. I was a little bit concerned. I don't think there's any in there. Well, whenever we get to cutting it, like these corners, I thought they might be, you know, almost inedible, but they're not. These collagen casings are like really tender and not at all gross or chewy or plasticky. So even the folded ends are pretty good. But for the sticks themselves, depending on how much patience I have, I would love to package them all like this. Just a couple of them vacuum sealed, ready to use as a snack. Also make them easy to, you know, to share with others. Give them a couple different flavors. That would be perfect. So I've got, you know, pre-cut vacuum bags, and if I cut these into 3 pieces, it makes the perfect size. So it's slow and it takes a while, but I think that's going to be worth it. Then I also have some that I cut into smaller pieces. Figure I could use these at some family holiday get-together sort of deal, dump them out. Let people try small bits and then take as many packs as you want, man. I got a whole freezer full. That's basically what I want to do with all of the flavors. As far as taste, so far, like my senses are so overwhelmed with smoke flavor right now. It all tastes the same. My hands smell like smoke, my clothes smell like smoke, my freaking cat smells like smoke. Everything's just smoke. So once I get all these packaged and I start editing this video and stuff, maybe then I'll have a little bit cleaner palate to taste test all of these. So let me show you cutting these up real quick. Not much to it here, just chopping the ends and then getting the length you want. Grab one of my bags. Think about that size, just a little bit shorter. So the scraps go into my chipotle jar. There's a look at them. We got really good cheese definition. It didn't melt away on us. Now this bigger group should be a little bit easier to cut. This one, yeah, see that got tough and gross. There's a look at that group. I do have some voids. Not many, but you know, a few here and there. I'm not sure if the final casing texture is something you can reliably go by. I'm definitely getting some wrinkliness. And the batches where I don't feel like I got them all cooked properly and I want to redo it, there were portions of it that hadn't gone wrinkly whatsoever. And also you can kind of see these are reasonably sturdy. Those were droopy and dangly. I hope that looks good in the camera because it really looks good in real life. Now I ended up with an awkward length at the end and I don't care at all. These go in the jar. This is my first sampling batch. So there's the chipotle ready for the vacuum sealer. So it's finally time to give some final opinions and end this video. So yesterday was Thanksgiving, so I was able to have a bunch of people try these and give me their opinion. I had people try 3 flavors, the original, the chipotle, and then the cheddar jalapeno that had the salt and pepper base seasoning with jalapenos. People liked them all. One comment I heard a lot was that the casing was really nice. You know, Slim Jims or whatever you get at the gas station have got that tough, chewy, plasticky type of casing. And this is nothing like that. And if you remember, that was one of my first impressions as well. When I was cutting the first batch and those little ends where the casing folded over, like it was all perfectly good and tender and not what I expected. The heat level on the jalapenos is really nice in these sticks. Yeah, really good jalapeno flavor, but I don't think anybody complained about them being too hot. Now, if you're into hot stuff, they actually have a hot flavor. So if that's your thing, you get the hot flavor plus jalapenos. I'm sure that would crank it up a bit, but for good jalapeno flavor that's, you know, approachable, wide appeal, they seem to have nailed it. The other 2 flavors were both excellent, and I cannot tell them apart. If there's a difference, it's pretty subtle. Now, when I use these as a shaker seasoning, I can taste the difference between them. But in the stick form, just not picking up on much. And what that tells me is, I think the hickory smoke powder was doing a lot of heavy lifting here. And probably the same thing with the curing salt. Because even the jalapeno ones where, you know, you basically just had smoke flavor and curing salt plus salt and pepper, the taste was remarkably similar to the ones that used these, you know, more complex seasonings. I would love to try a batch without the smoke flavor just to see what it tastes like. I don't know how it could be better. Like this was just, it's the perfect combination. Like the perfect balance. These are exactly what you expect. All right, I made a whole list of crap I wanted to talk about. When it comes to the stuffing horn, I'm wondering if there's something a little bit bigger than that 10 millimeter that's available, because the fit on those 17 millimeter casings is just not that great. So maybe there's a 12 or a 14 millimeter out there or something that might make filling those a little bit easier. You know, and it's funny on some of these flavors. Like, you know, we've already talked about the smoke flavor and the powder and everything being pretty intense in these. Well, the bratwurst that I smoked, they came out a little bit smokier than I would like. Like, it's not bad, it's just more smoke than I want on my bratwurst. And with the jalapeno sticks are my favorite. I really enjoy the jalapeno in those, but with the brats, I've kind of been avoiding the ones with jalapenos. Like, they're good, I'm just usually not in the mood for them. So funny how that's kind of opposite between the two products. Another thing to mention are casing blowouts. I did manage to have a couple casing blowouts where you're just, you know, you're filling product into the casing too fast and it splits. The only time it happened is whenever, like, I was standing up and really trying to crank as hard as I could. Both times it happened, that's what was going on. Like, I needed to just slow down. I was afraid that was going to be more of a problem, and it just wasn't. The cheese is great in both taste and texture, so really happy with the cheese, which I think each of those 2.5 pound bags was like 30 bucks. So it was a big portion of the total cost of these packages. So I'm gonna immediately order some more. Like, I had bought enough bratwurst seasoning to do 25 pounds without cheese. I don't want that. I want cheese, man. They've got several other flavors, you know, pepper jack and Swiss and some other crap, but I'm super happy with the cheddar. I might just stick with that. Yeah, and we already talked about the cure and the smoke. That really is the fundamental flavor of the sticks, I think. I'm feeling good about the stuffer purchase, and I'm looking forward to doing a whole bunch more stuff like this, because that's been a little bit of a challenge of deciding what I want to do with all of this pork. And I've thought about getting into dry curing and trying to do country hams and the entire world of charcuterie, all that fancy crap. But this is a whole lot more practical. I'll save that crap for another day. Right now, I want to learn how to make really awesome sausage. I'm going to order their maple kit to make maple, you know, breakfast links and try some plain ones. I want to come up with a nice recipe for like an Italian sausage and other stuff like that. So I'm feeling really good about this stuffer. I'm going to make these sticks every year. If not from this kit, then, you know, something very similar. Just an extremely useful product and a great way to use deer meat. Well, like in their video, they actually used some old deer meat. You know, they had some like 2-year-old burger that they pulled out of the freezer and made sticks out of. It's a perfect way to use up old meat like that. And they do sell fat trimmings on their website. That was a problem I ran into a couple years ago whenever I wanted to add some pork fat to my deer burger and just couldn't find any. I ended up using bacon. So I need to make sure I don't turn too much of my fat into lard. I need to keep, you know, a good amount back for, you know, projects like this. Another thing that was surprisingly nerve-wracking during this process was keeping things clean and sanitized. Because, you know, I had 5 different flavor batches making their way through the process. Just making sure that, you know, all of the cooked products and all the raw products never crossed was pretty challenging and took a lot of dishwashing and surface sanitizing. I really liked working in the 5-pound batches though. It fit my stuffer perfectly. And I think, you know, even if I was doing an entire batch of the same flavor, I wouldn't want to mix all of the cheese unless I had enough smokers to get all of that product onto the smoker in a timely manner. And it might just be time for me to upgrade my grill. I know the offset smokers are getting more popular these days, and it might be time to invest in something that'll just give me better control while I'm messing around with all this stuff. I'm not sure on that. Need to shop around, figure out how much something that's decent would cost me. So I think that concludes the list of crap I wanted to talk about. These ended up being everything I hoped they'd be. So thanks to the Bearded Butchers for putting this out there and all of their awesome videos that helped me so much as I was going through this process. Like, all I needed, I bought one of these giant hacksaws for cutting bones, and I bought some of these stainless steel Sawzall blades, and that's all it took. Their videos have just been extremely helpful. So I think that's where this one ends, folks. Thanks for joining me. See you guys next time.